We found the clapper. All right. Yeah. Okay. Hey. Hi, everybody. Now you can hear me. Hey, Chris Wong, can you hear me? No? Yeah. Chris Wong, can you tell everybody over there to simmer down now? Simmer Donna? Donna Summer? Simmer down now. Is there music? Hold on. Oh, okay, now if I stop the music, will you hear me? Yeah? Wait. Shh. I'm really muffled. Now I sound really muffled. How about now? No? We're just gonna... It is what it is. It is what it... No. No more bass. No more bass. I hate when I sound without bass. I'll just have to speak bassier. Uh-huh. A little bit further away from my mouth. A little bit further away from my mouth. How much further away from my mouth is away from my mouth? Is this all right? Right here? 7 years ago, our forefathers came to this country to terrorize Native Americans. Well, and how about now? Better? How about now? Yeah? And you want me to speak louder? Is this better? Okay, this is a product demonstration for the Civic Pechakucha people. So those of you who are presenting, where are you? Raise your hands. Okay, Wendy, I'm gonna need you to come forward and be over here in the corner. Who are we missing? What? Over here, in that corner. Now. Thank you. All right. Before we end the day, did you have a good time? Did we have enough food? Were you hydrated and or caffeinated? Okay. Did you learn something? Do you have something that you want to tell a friend when you go home or when you talk to them tomorrow? Do you have 2 things that you can tell a friend or a family member when you see them next time? Yeah, 2? Okay, how about 3? 4? 5? Maybe? I mean, we only had 4 sessions, so, but there was a lot, right? Well, as John said, and I will answer your question now, this is the largest school of data that we've had to date. Last time I checked, we had 353 check-ins, which is, oh my God. I can't believe we fed all of you so quickly, so swiftly. Thank you for being polite through that exercise. That was really amazing that we were able to get everybody fed through it. I gotta thank Kate for being a magical wizard and figuring out how to do all of that. Kate, this is Kate's 5th week on the job. We were kind of running late to ensure that we had an event planner, and Kate has essentially kind of put together our food menu in the last 2 weeks. So can we give another really loud thank you to Kate? Okay. Does that mean that you're going to cut me off? Okay. Okay, now let's do another one from without a microphone. Thank you, Kate! And how about now? Oh my God. Hallelujah. Praise the microphone. What did you do, Jolly? You attenuated me. Oh, woo! Feels so good to be in here. Okay, so there's some cupcakes that are coming around right now. And it was a birthday of one of our team members last week. And then it's the birthday of our other team member this week. So can we get Lauren and Emily to come up front so that way we can sing them happy birthday? If they're still around. Where are they? Come forward. Okay, I see Lauren. Where's Emily? Okay, because I know Emily wouldn't want to do this by herself. All right. So these two amazing humans have been on BetaNYC's leadership team for roughly the last 4 years. Collectively, we've shepherded a lot of things, and we get to celebrate another year with each other. So let's start this. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Lauren and Emily. Happy birthday to you. Thank you. All right, social embarrassments out of the way. Thank you, ladies. Okay, so this is our closing session. How many of you have gone through a PetaNYC or an Ignite before? Raise your hands. Great, so for those of you who haven't, you'll be exposed to a new thing. Now, we didn't have a Galvan. I have something else to expose you to, and I'm keeping my pants on. Galvanized, we didn't have a representative from Galvanized in the morning, but I'm going to bring up Chase, who is from Galvanized, who has something that he wants to talk about real quickly. Chase?
Thanks, Noel. For those of you who have been here before, welcome. And for those of you who have not been here before, welcome. And for those of you who have, welcome back. I'm Chase, and I lead partnerships here at Galvanize. We were thrilled when Noel reached out on behalf of BetaNYC to throw the event here. As many of you may know, Galvanize it does three things, actually. It provides workspace to about 50 venture-backed startups. We have 3 enterprise companies in-house. We have 4 VC firms in-house. And we also run immersive programs in web development and data science. So putting all those things under one roof really becomes community as a service in our minds. And we're thrilled when we see so many more people in the greater New York City area that are interested in transforming the way we live through data. So on behalf of Galvanize, I'd like to welcome you all, and thank you.
Thank you. Wait, the
Oh. There is one other thing. So we have just rolled out a free, well, actually, there's a premium data science prep program that we have online that's mentored. Because of the reception that we've seen here for this BetaNYC, we're offering this to all of the BetaNYC members as well as all the attendees of School of Data, free access to this premium mentored prep. Noel will follow up with information about how to get registered, but it's quick, simple, and we'll look forward to seeing you online.
Great. Cool. So now you have your fifth thing, which is you can talk about data science afterward. All right. I can now step away and bring in someone who flew in just for this event. His name is Matt Stempek. And he, how many of you know Matt Stempek? There's a few Matt Stempek fans out here. Former roommates. Matt, it's the Matt and Noel show. Hey, where you been?
Been Berlin.
Great.
And even United Airlines couldn't keep me from attending School of Data.
Excellent. And with that, he is going to be the host, but before he becomes the host for everybody else, he's going to show you how to do a PetaNYC. Jolly, are you ready? Yes. Here we go.
Welcome to Stempeka Kucha. Got one laugh. All right, on a darker note, where do we find inspiration? Give me your mic. There goes 10 of my seconds. Where do we find inspiration in these times?
Wait.
For me, I find it in all of you. Looking at the work of Civic Tech.
Wait, sorry. Technical.
Jolly.
No.
Show us your desktop.
It's black. All right, Jolly, now do you have it?
Hello, Livestream.
Hi. How about now?
Should I vamp?
Huh?
Whose birthday is next? Who's got a birthday tomorrow? My mom. John's mom. Everyone wish John's mom a happy birthday.
Oh, last year you called her.
Should we do it again?
Yeah.
Should we do it again?
Yeah. Jolly, how we doing? Now we good?
I have something, yeah.
Ready, one connection.
You know, you're not looking too good on that screen, though. Oh, yeah, now we're good.
But now, do you have a full screen?
I can crop. Yes, I have full screen.
Go!
Great. There's my first slide. All right. The Civic Tech Field Guide is a collection of all the tech tools for doing good in civic tech, all the data, all the media, and importantly, all the social side of how we do good. We lost my first slide, so I'm just going to go from here. And they already messed up my formatting. And there it goes. OK, as a field, civic tech is growing like crazy. What started with civic hackers and underappreciated bureaucrats now includes things like a Hack for Good hackathon at the Vatican with His Holiness the Pope. And President Barack Obama's foundation has made civic tech part of its work. So something that started small has gotten bigger. We can do tech not just to make money, but also to bolster our democracies. Inside of government, there's millions of dollars being spent on government IT that we could do better. Outside of government, there's tens of thousands of people like us going to weekly hack nights, eating pizza, and trying to make the world better. And today, for Open Data Day, there's 270 events around the world. What's up, Livestream? So it's a growing field, it's a growing space, and together with Mika Sifri from Civic Hall, we've been trying to catalog that space and help bring more people to it and help shift resources in more productive directions. So what started with open data portals and transparency projects has turned into hundreds of subcategories and niches within civic tech. We have mobility, we have drones, we have budget visualization tools. We keep track of all these by category so you can actually go to the subset of civic tech that you work in or explore more. And the reason for this is that as the field grows, we want to make sure we're being impactful. We want to make sure funders are putting their money in effective places. And as Mika likes to say, if we want to know where we're going, it helps to have a map. You know, how's the field changed over the last 10 years? What's worked and what hasn't? If we launch another social network for politics and it fails, should we be surprised? So raise your hand if you ever saw the spreadsheet, Civic Tech Field Guide. Decent, say 10%, 5% of the audience. We launched it as a crowdsourced guide, and it was originally Aaron Simpson from Civic Hall, Mika Sifri, and myself, and hundreds of people added to it from around the world, making it much less US focused. But all along, people said, we want more data about each project. We want to know the founders. We want to know where they got their funding. Are they still around? Where's their code? So we launched profile pages for each, what was formerly just a link in our spreadsheet, so that you can find out all this information, and you can add all this information for all the projects. We launched a Code for All Summit this past October. And since then, we've had lots of people visiting. We've had lots of people adding more projects from around the world. And we've continued to fill out more information about each project. So you can get, impact statement to see what projects it's actually done, timeline of how long it's been around. The whole contribution, the whole point of this is for you to have this data. That includes funders who are already using the field guide to see what competition exists in a space before funding something. That also includes researchers, like the Tech for Social Justice Project, which use it to kickstart their research, if I'm not good. Yeah. And yeah, as long as you attribute, it's yours. We are not the only catalog of civic tech. In fact, I've counted over 40 other catalogs. Projects like Civic Commons predate us. Projects like OGP Toolbox are based in Europe and have a tech-focused side. And so the goal is to collect all this information together and share it together so we can all learn what we're doing and what's working and what's not. One way the Civic Tech Field Guide differs from some of these other projects is that we are really curious about the social side of this field. Besides petition tools and data visualization tools, we want to help bring more people in via fellowships and funding. We have job boards, peer networks, like, say government officials working on transparency. So whether today is your first Civic Tech event or you've been around the space forever, we're trying to help you find your way into the field. And that includes, like I said, job boards, but also learning about civic tech from both the niche outlets that cover it, like Civicist, and the mainstream journalists covering civic tech for things like the Wall Street Journal. As I've seen some of you around the world this year at different civic tech conferences, we've been workshopping this with the old school technology of civic tech, the Post-it note, trying to get instant feedback from people. We want to know if this is useful for you, and if not, please tell us, because that's the whole point, is to help you. New York City, we've got lots of projects in here. They're not all geocoded. What we'd love to do is make a New York City specific page where everything you need is in one place, whether it's the top data sets, the top funders, organizations like BetaNYC. So as we build out the geographical side of the field guide, we've already gone global. We would love to now go local and see how that works. Fatima, where are you at? Fatima is our first volunteer curator. So, woo! I'm going to let you clap, but you're cutting into my time. Fatima is curating the drones page of the Civic Tech Field Guide. We also, perhaps controversially, track dead projects. We have a graveyard of civic tech where we want to go learn from what's worked and what hasn't. Some things die for good reason. They've outlived their purpose, and we shut them down. Other things die because they're the 10th project in a row that's trying to make a social network for politics. So you'll find Brigade in the graveyard. This is a website. You can go to it. It's a data set. You can have it. Just hit me up. We're on Twitter. That's our info@civictech.guide. Is our catch-all email address. We would love to make this useful for you and help grow the field. And all of you inspire me with the work you do, so let's make sure that you're in here so people can find you. And I'm going to close early because that's just a picture. Thank you. That's a Stempek Akucha. Does anyone know where the escape key is on a MacBook Pro?
On the new one? So it's this little thing over here and show. There you go.
It's handy.
All right, so who's next?
Next we have Samantha.
Samantha is doing...
It should be on her name.
Samantha.
Yep.
There we go.
Test, test. Can you hear me? Yeah! Woo! All right. Hello, hello. I'm Sam. I work with Urban Archive. If you've not heard about our work before, we are a tech nonprofit that's mapping New York City's historic photographic archives across all of the city's historic and cultural institutions. Before I got started, I have a serious question. Has anyone seen a historic building? Show of hands if you've seen a historic building. You're New Yorkers, of course you have. Keep your hands up, keep your hands up. Do you know the architect? Do you know the year it was built? You could put your hands down, keep it up. A lot of you know. Okay, do you know why it was there in the first place? So the truth is, New York has so many stories. I work in the Lower East Side. This is my office, 155 Rivington Street. In 1912, it was a bank. In 1915, it was a commissary. In 1980, it was home to a music video for Rancid. That graffiti is still there. And in the early 2000s, Gaga used to hang out on the bottom floor. So much history in one building. How the heck do I know this? New York City has so much incredible stories to tell. 8.5+ million people, right? How the heck do I know? New York City's institutions have done a phenomenal job at aggregating and collecting information. But in the absence of a robust and unifying digital platform for all these institutions, each museum builds its own online portal. These portals are largely built for seasoned researchers, historians, and educators. leaving these incredible resources largely underutilized. So this is where Urban Archive comes in. We're a tech nonprofit. We started in 2016. We're coming up on 3 years. And what Urban Archive does is actually centralizes all of New York City's photographic archives in one spot, and we're putting it on a mobile app. So we're creating a shared digital infrastructure for all of New York City's museums, archives, historical societies. We started with 3 partners. 3 years in, we have almost over 60. And this is kind of an example of what our app sort of does. There's so much information, but what we're really interested in is making history relevant, making history contextual for people to relate in their day-to-day experiences. So a large part of our work is mapping the data. We have over 150,000 photographic archives. So how we're mapping them is we're using New York City's open data Pluto and mapping every single archival asset to a borough block lot in New York City. So that's what this map represents. That's a screenshot of our content management system that we've built out for our partners. So basically, when you're clicking into this CMS, you could actually access metadata from over 60 institutions in the city and search different things. And really, for the first time, you have a centralized platform for these sorts of historical records and documents. So that's a lot of what we've been doing. So all of our partners have access to this. What's really cool is we work with really large institutions such as the New York Historical Society, Museum of the City of New York, but we also work with really small ones such as Greenwich Village Society for Historic Preservation. And sometimes a lot of these institutions don't even have a content management system. So they're using ours, and whatever they put into the CMS is actually being pushed and powered to our mobile app for our users. So this is an example of a photo that a user could actually see from their bed. Or if they're standing in front of Pier 45, or is it 43? Yeah, 45, you can see a photo, the metadata attached, some sort of description, and learn more about the institution. What's cool is this actually points back to the institution's portal. We've also created fun ways for our users to engage with history, and we have this feature called Recreations, as we call it, which is a then and now feature where you could take a photo in 1907, as you see on the left, and that photo was actually taken in 2017. So our users are always sending those in to us, and we have a lot of fun seeing them. We also are using New York City Planning Lab's GeoSearch tool and API client. Thank you. So you guys could search the metadata across all of New York City's museums and institutions. We love searching dog for some reason as a team. And when you search dog, this is a hot dog stand from 1936. Yeah, so we have fun with it, and it searches also location data. We are also sending push notifications to our users. Apple lets you send out 20 geofences, and when you enter into one of our fences, we actually curate the most interesting historical information that's relevant within that space and send it to you. There's someone in this room who tweeted at us and said that they love Urban Archives notifications. In a world where people hate location services, our users are actually turning this on. And so, yeah, we're letting people know if you're walking by a cool building, we'll say, hey, this was built in 1890, and we'll let you know about that. Thank you, Atul. Coming up, what's cool is our partner institutions could actually see how the impact of their work is visualized on a map. So this is an example. They could put walking tours together, audio guides, and map their impact. And it connects to users in a way that already aligns with how we're consuming content from our mobile devices. So this is the Municipal Art Society of New York. If you guys are familiar with Link, we've also working with them. On the left is a map of the Link New York City kiosks. What you see in the middle is Urban Archives mapped locations. We have over 80,000 locations. And on the right is a Link kiosk. We are actually generating these templates directly from our software. So what we do is we actually set up a radius within 200 meters of these intersections and are pulling in located archival assets, allowing for people to actually see contextual history as they're passing by. So we'll set up a 200-meter radius, and we'll actually calculate down to the minute or feet if it's less than a minute walk away. So we're having a lot of fun with this, and are about to queue up a bunch more of these Link kiosks. And last but not least, we're also working with our institutions to do more audio and immersive programming. So whether you're inside the institution or outside, you could take Urban Archive with you and listen to oral histories. You could do a whole bunch of different things. And you should also come to one of our events. We do historical scavenger hunts with Think Chinatown in this room. Yeah. So if you like history, download Urban Archive. That's my plug. And come hang out. Yeah.
Give it up.
End show.
All right, everyone go download that right now. Greg Bloom is next, all the way up from Miami.
Thank you, Matthew.
Yeah, I did my job.
Hi, so my name is Greg Bloom. I lead up the Open Referral Initiative. We're making it easier for people to share, find, and use information about the resources that are available to people in need. My mom finds it really hard to explain what it is that I do to people, so I say, just tell people I help the people who help the people who help people find help. It's pretty abstract. It's a wicked problem. I found this problem while I was working at an organization called Bread for the City in the District of Columbia. They have a food pantry, a clothing bank, a medical clinic, legal services, social workers, and on top of everything else, the social workers built a Microsoft Access database where they maintain information about 500 other organizations providing thousands of other services, and people come to us just to get that other information about where else they need to go. And other organizations, I found, came to me to ask for copies of our database to build a community resource website or a community asset map. And over time, I realized, like, why are we doing this on top of everything else that we're already doing? And it's because it's an unsolved problem that's getting worse. This is like basic stuff when it comes to civic data. Where do people go to get help? Information about which organizations provide what services, where are they located, how are they accessed, and it's actually really, really hard. This is the worst slide in my deck coming up right here. It's very complex. Organizations are providing different kinds of services at different kinds of sites. They have elaborate eligibility criteria. They're funded by a fragmented landscape of governments and nonprofits and philanthropies, and it's always changing. And most importantly, they don't have incentives to get more people coming to them. They're not paid by those people, and they're not paid enough to cover the cost of serving those people. So they're not trying to be listed in your Yelp for social services or your centralized community clearinghouse of resource information. And so if you want an accurate directory, you have to make phone calls. And many organizations make it their business to make these phone calls over and over again. There is a whole field of 1,200 call centers that provide referrals, and then there's an emerging field of web startups that scrape those call centers' websites and package that data up into premium software that they sell to health insurance companies. It's a mess, and it's getting worse. And this is essentially what it looks like, market failure. Everybody's chasing the same information to compete over who has the best source of data, of really public information. And when I've described this problem to people, they tell me, what you should do is scrape everybody else's website, build the best app, everybody will use your tool, and then the problem will be solved. And I just don't think we're going to solve this problem with the same logic that got us into it. We need to apply different kinds of principles. And so the Open Referral Initiative is treating this not as a field to go out and grab market share, but as a market failure that can be corrected through cooperation. We're building information ecosystem rather than the best killer app. And what that looks like is, to be a little simplistic, is essentially infrastructure. And we don't have a product. We help communities figure out how to solve this problem for themselves. So this is a simplification of what it would look like for a common set of record to be accessible across any number of channels, right? Call centers, websites, they should all be accessing the same public information, and we help communities figure out what that should look like for them. Ultimately, in order for us to get there, we need data standards that all the information systems are going to recognize. We need open platforms that can interoperate, a community of practice that can solve these problems, and sustainable business models. So this is ultimately the work that Open Referral is doing. And when I first described this opportunity to people, again, some of the same savvy types that told me to build a killer app, they would bring up this XKCD cartoon every single time, saying, oh, well, it'd be great if everybody shared a data standard, but guess what? Everybody already has a data standard. What are you going to do? And here's the thing. This is a collective action problem, but collective action problems have solutions. So instead of building the new data standard that would compete with everybody else's data standard, we build one that enables cooperation. That's the difference. And we work with organizations to ensure that this information, which is a public good, can be exchanged across any number of technologies, which previously were just outright competing with each other, and can be realigned in cooperation. And here's the thing. It took me 5 years, But as of last year, as of the end of last year, the Alliance of Information and Referral Systems, which accredits 211 providers, they formally announced that we have essentially developed an industry-wide data standard. Their logo is supposed to come up there in the center. I'm not sure why it's not, but we did it, basically. We're now a default format for resource directory data exchange. And all that means is it's like now we can do the hard stuff, right, of really figuring out how to serve communities more effectively. And it's happening here in New York City. There's an app called Street Lives that's building technology in dialogue with people experiencing homelessness for them to share their experiences of dealing with these services. And this enables them to focus their efforts, rather than on chasing this information down, on designing effective tools for people to use with it. In the room, we have the Sahana Foundation built the open referral format into Airtable, which is a lightweight content management system that acts like a spreadsheet. And so now you can have a free CMS that organizations in New York City are using to upgrade from Google Docs to an actual database to share this information and collaborate with each other. And most excitingly of all, the New York City Mayor's Office is publishing data about all health, human, and social service contractors. Their official contract information is being transformed into our format and made available on the Open Data Portal. It's just a start. We haven't solved the problem, but this is a baseline. This is a foundation that we can build upon in cooperation with the other people who are trying to solve this problem. Because ultimately, we still have to answer. If this information takes labor to maintain, then how are we going to sustain that effort? And by treating it as a common good and by fostering cooperation, we can expand the range of possible answers to that question. So here's the thing. I have eventually at some point decided that this is the hill that I'm gonna die on, I guess. And ultimately it's like, the world that I want to live in, that I think most of you all want to live in, if we're going to build that world, we can't have information about the resources available to people in need be some venture capitalist rental property. We need it to be an information infrastructure that's accountable to the communities that it serves, and we're figuring out how to do that. There's a lot of opportunity here in New York City. Come find me and let's talk about it. Thank you.
Melissa? Melissa De La Cruz, are you here? Give it up for Melissa De La Cruz.
Hey, Tess, do you hear me? Good. Before I start, any cyclists in the room? And every time you go, is there a chance that you are blocked by something? Yeah. 100% chance that every time you get out to a bike lane, you're snapped in the middle, have to travel onto the curb. And so that's it. That's our experience as cyclists. We're either, at outright pure elation traveling down the parkway, or, stuck in the middle of two buses. And outright road rage comes into your bones as you kind of make your way through it. We've fought really hard to get what we have here in the city. Cycle lanes in Vanderbilt Avenue have been made just so that we can get to different parts of the city as fast as we can, and using multimodal travel that in the city we have 40,000 people cycle to commute every day. And it's good. Our lives are so much better that we can go from place to place. It's better for our health. It's better for everyone in their community. But there's a problem in that, and that we are experiencing a time where more and more people are, safety is a big concern, and traffic and rideshare have all kind of dominated our lives. We have 6 feet of curb that don't have any other option but trucks and buses and taxis and rideshares. They're all claiming this as their own. So as someone who kind of was in this space, I started cycling 1.5 years ago. I came into a harrowing accident in Greenpoint where I faced this bike lane and just crash onto the sidewalk. And I don't want that any time to happen to anyone. But when I looked at the 311 data set, all they told me were numbers. They told me that X cyclists pass through the bridge, Y people go through this section. It never told me what the characteristics are of a bike lane. How many potholes are there? Or is there something blocking it? And I wanted to know that. The best way I found out was looking through places like this, Bike Lane Uprising or Reported NYC, all kind of showed these things. But I wanted to know locations, neighborhoods that were safe for me to travel and my friends to travel. That's what we want. We want to make sure our friends are healthy, happy, and safe. made me think of these places like the DC's Department of Transformation, who, through guerrilla efforts, found ways to change the bike lane and make their own. These are exciting times to be part of this community because we all know that we have control. We're at this point in time. And so we know now that, New York City tracks us. DOT tracks us. We have counters. We have data all over the place. How do we make sense of it? So I started working with STAY, a municipal data platform, and they helped me put this into perspective. Out of 10,000 blocked bike lane reports, about 57 showed that summons came up in the last 3 years. This is the blocked bike lane 311 issue, and then the next slide will show you how many summons were issued at the same time. So neighborhoods are important, and we need to keep that the way it is. Sorry, next. And so what I did was use Twitter, using USPS and trying to understand the freight ecosystem. I geotagged with the help of Crystal, who's my co-partner in this. We geotagged this, all the reports of blocked bike lanes, and came up with 200 tweets around the New York City area, and found one place that made sense. It's the neighborhood, the Lower East Side, Suffolk, Stanton, Rivington. These were where most of the reports were for USPS or FedEx. And weirdly enough, you wouldn't find DHL in these bus lanes because they train their drivers. The basic, what I wanted to share here is that, the problem with bike lanes is not something that it's a wide-scaling, complex problem. But if we can do it, start small, and look at particular neighborhoods, work with community boards, it's going to be a starting point to better conversations about safer cyclists and better share of the road. And that's kind of where we are now. And so where do we start? Well, I said start small and use the tools that we already have. It's not going to be some big change. We already have the tools in our system to be able to figure out the next solutions. That's it, and thanks for listening.
Thank you. Nice. I'd be curious what percentage of those tweets are from Noel Hidalgo, the block violations. Next up, we have Michael Hassin from Community Lawyer.
Hi, my name is Michael. I'll be talking about a new way to build and share web apps that can send emails and fill out documents without writing any code. But before I do that, I want to just say a quick word about my company. Community Lawyer is a public benefit company. We came out of the Blue Ridge Labs startup incubator that is home to some of these fine organizations that you may have heard of. The way the program works is that every year they recruit a crop of burnouts from the tech industry and have us discover new ways to use technology to address some social problem in New York City. So the year that we did the program, the topic was civil justice. There is a civil rights crisis unfolding in the US, and it's rooted in the unaffordability of legal services. People being sued by their landlords or credit card companies are more likely than not to show up to court unrepresented. Couples that are trying to end their marriage have to choose between getting a divorce and holding on to their savings. 9 out of 10 people seeking legal aid are turned away. So our mission as a company is to develop tools that can allow legal service providers and others who advocate on behalf of the public to get their work done faster. And we think that that's the best way to make legal services cheaper and more accessible for everyone. And to illustrate why, here's a scenario. So imagine a couple, Alice and Bob. They are a financially distressed, low-income couple trying to get a divorce. They get a referral to this terrific family lawyer, Claudia, who's been in the business for over a decade. She knows all the questions to ask, all the forms to fill out. She's done it a million times. But it's still going to cost Alice and Bob thousands of dollars in legal fees on top of court and filing fees because Claudia is a solo practitioner. And it's very time-intensive for her to collect all the information she needs to draft Alice and Bob's documents. She doesn't have an IT staff or a secretary or a paralegal to help her out. So even if she wanted to charge less, she couldn't afford to. Yeah, and it's not just divorce that's like this. It's if you're trying to incorporate a business or apply for benefits or defend yourself from a landlord or a debt collector. So many of our rights and protections and benefits are locked behind what is really a truly awful user interface, which is text written on forms. And we're betting that the web offers a superior alternative as an interface to access the rights that are provided to you by the law. So we developed a web app that we call the Builder, and you basically lay out a bunch of questions and rules, and it generates a TurboTax-like step-by-step interview. We've developed tools that let you mark up PDFs and Word documents, so you can automatically fill the forms out with the information you get from your users. It's got conditional logic, branching, loops, basically everything you need to capture all the rules that are embodied by the documents that you're creating. There's something else that's cool about it that I think people in this room will like, and that's that we've taken a page out of GitHub's book. And so as long as what you're creating with the Builder is open in that you're letting other people copy it and run it and modify it, our tool is completely free to use. So if, for example, if someone in California builds an app that helps someone create a rent overcharge complaint, then you in New York City could copy it, keep the basic questions that gather information the same, and just change what you have to in order to have the tool work to reflect the laws here. This is what makes software special. Software is, like money and language, a fluid tool that can change its shape to fit any problem. It's cheaper to make a change to a computer program than it is to add floors to a building or add a bike lane to a street. And the other special thing about software is that distributing it doesn't cost anything. So the amount of impact you can get relative to the amount of effort you put in is unbelievable. If I can create an app that saves a social worker an hour on every client they process, then the amount of value I've delivered compared to the effort I put in is huge. And so it's these two features of software, its fluidity and its leverage, that contribute to what I think is an amazing thing about the culture the culture of people who make software. The first is doing it yourself. If you know how to code and you have a problem, you don't have to hire someone or buy something expensive to make the problem go away. You can just fix it yourself. And not only that, you don't have to keep the fix to yourself. You can put it on GitHub and let anyone else with a similar kind of problem copy it and adapt it to their own purposes. This is how we build things like Wikipedia, like Unix, like Bitcoin, through continuous and decentralized collaboration. The tagline to Apple's ad campaign for the iOS App Store when it first came out was, "There's an app for that." So we're imagining a world with an app for applying for Snap, an app for getting a sidewalk cafe license for your restaurant, an app for filing a FOIL request, not built and maintained not by professional software engineers, but just by any old person who has these problems. The legal services industry is notoriously low-tech, low DIY, low collaboration. And that's not because the people in it are lazy or stupid. It's that they don't have the right tools. So really our mission is to provide the tools that could allow anyone who wants to take advantage of the culture of software to do so. So one last thing. I know people in this room are probably fanatics about open source. So it makes me a little guilty to admit that our tech is not open source. We are a business like GitHub, and it just doesn't make sense with our model. However, we've built our tech around an open source tool called DocAssemble, which is a Python framework that lets you build and run guided interviews. So our app lets you freely and directly download all the Python code that we generate and run inside of DocAssemble. So if you insist, or if you can't sleep at night unless your project is 100% open source, we've made it possible that it'll always be possible. Wait. So we've got pilots running with a statewide legal aid organization and with a state court system, but we need your feedback too. So if you've got any ideas for a use case or any feedback at all, please hit me up. I'd love to talk. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. 2 talks left. You're the best audience ever. How are those pretzel sticks treating you? Raisins? Yeah? All right. Next up, we got Wendy Brewer. Give it up.
Hi, everybody. I just want to pick up on how Noel started the day and acknowledge that I'm on the traditional land of the Lenape people. We all are. And want to say thank you to everybody. I've learned so much here today. I'm going to be talking to you about Green Map. And this is a project that dates back to the before the turn of the century, yes, 23 years of history, I think, and we have created so many different things, exhibits, tours, workshops, events, but I'm going to focus today on the last couple of years. And boy, 20 seconds is really long, isn't it? I'm impressed, okay. So we started, I was at the Open Data Festival in 2012 and got really interested in thinking about how could we do differently what we're doing right now, and that would be through going open. So it took a while to convince the board and the network, and here we are, faster than I thought. Anyhow, we're built on universals. So maps are usable by all. Iconography transcends language and cultural barriers. And when we got going, we created a font. So this would work in any computer program, very important back in 1996. Now our font, our iconography includes 170 symbols for green living, nature, culture, and society. It was co-designed and it's evolving still. There's now an underlying pattern language, and I'm happy to say it's now open source, so you can use it for other things. What we've been doing over these years is we've been connecting the different projects. We've been assessing and creating new tools, and these tools are being used locally in different ways. We now have, I can take a breath, can't I? Okay. We work with all kinds of folks all over the world. And because it's locally led, each project is autonomous. They have different ideas about how this mapping project can be used to become a vehicle for social change in their community. So it's been a great pleasure working with city agencies, faith groups, youth groups, and we've produced hundreds of maps. Yes, there's fewer print maps over the years, in part because they're more expensive and harder to make. Our archive is at the New York Public Library, and we also have a website online with about 600 maps on it at opengreenmap.org/home. So there have been a lot of people supporting this effort. This is just a small subset of the map makers, the board members, advisors, volunteers, and interns. But in many respects, what I've been showing you is the lead up to where we are now. And I'm using this tiny sun, which to me is climate change. So as Sandy really hit New York, it really hit me hard. It wasn't just that we were out for 5 days from power. It really made me think differently about what we were doing and how we were doing it, and how the groundwork we've been laying over the last few years could change if we were open. So we're not a start-up, we're a start-open. We're not born open, but we're moving that way all the time. Climate change is our driver. We're very interested in working with you in new ways and to build synergies. How can we get more to happen faster to help us mitigate and adapt what's going on? So what changed at GreenMap? There's no more fees. Just share your story. Tell people how you made it, why it mattered, and how you put the pieces together. This example is a STEAM-connected project in Baltimore that's been working, Baltimore GreenMap's been working with young people, parks, and doing a lot of things from a planning perspective. Our iconography, now open source, has a Creative Commons license with a +CC, which means talk to us if you want to use it for something that's going to generate income. But already it's being used in marker systems, signage, 3D printing, all kinds of things. What more can we do with this symbol system? Oops, a little bit off here. We've shared the iconography now with our own platform, Carto, Esri, Google My Map, and the Map of Tomorrow, which is being built in Germany. We've also mixed our icons with the Sustainable Development Goals. We're envisioning AR tools and other things so people can see the SDGs in public. Our open trajectory has led us to the beginning of Open Green Map 2. It's being donated to us by a fabulous designer in Berlin. And so far it's already integrated with our data collector, and we can now bring in other iconographies, including those SDGs. So here's an example of a map that we made that sort of connects the trajectory of where we're going. This was made after Sandy to promote cycling as an everyday climate countermeasure, and we also created Bike Ready, a video using footage collected during Sandy on how bicyclists can respond. We're part of the Stanton Building Task Force, which is on the Lower East Side. Can we take back some of the 39 buildings just in parks that used to be recreation centers and turn them into community resiliency centers? I'm happy to report the Stanton Building, just as of this month, now the new bathrooms are underway, public restrooms. And we're also in part of, this is something I just started working on a couple months ago. I now have a resolution from my community board for more street trees and stewardship programs. Maybe this is something you can use too. I'm partnering with map makers in Santa Monica and Tokyo so far, and there's much more we can do together. So I want to say that with preparedness being such an important issue for all of us right now, ways to look at energy and climate in new ways, ways to look at our community together. What can we do together? Thank you. Oh, and I have materials.
All right, Wendy. Is Brendan O'Brien in the house? Brendan O'Brien. Yeah, right here.
I thought that was going to be a lot funnier. It really wasn't.
It was just it. But before you speak, did anyone lose a really nice scarf?
Oh, is that Wendy's? No?
I'll be wearing it.
And don't go anywhere after this presentation.
Yeah, home stretch team, but don't leave. But this is the last one, so you don't have to listen after this. Are you timing me in 2 places? Okay, cool. Hi, everybody. Yay Open School of Data. My name is Brendan. I've been a software engineer for a little while. Thanks for chilling out in the back. It's amazing. You're delightful. I'm here today to sort of tell you about something new. We don't often get to talk about something new, so I'm very excited. The first new thing I want to tell you about, we got a new name for our logo today. We're now calling it the Data Snuggle. You can thank Liz for that one. I think it helps to explain the story behind how we got here to sort of understand what this thing is, because it is a new thing. And so with all new things, we're sort of still learning how to explain it. Oh, I put crossfades in. Yeah, so has anybody read this book at all? If you haven't, this is one of my favorite books. It's called The Cathedral and the Bazaar. I have a background in software engineering, and so I'm very used to this understanding of 2 ways of making software. There's the cathedral model, where you have a very well-connected group of people who are working in sort of a tight team to make something really well, kind of like cathedral building. And then you have the bazaar model, which is like everybody working together. Or everybody working out in the open and just sort of exchanging ideas as they have it. And so I came to open data from having a very well-functioning bazaar for software, and this was my first introduction to open data. I Googled open data, and Wikipedia gave me this. I'm still confused by this. I don't know what this means. I think that's part of the problem, but this was the fundamental question I left with, is like, wait a second, as a software developer, I have a place, most of us think of it as GitHub or GitLab, that I can go and just very quickly get access to software that anybody has made. I can contribute back to that, I can take from it, there's a free exchange of information, it's easy, and I don't really think about the interface of GitHub, I just work on software. And so for us, it's like, where is the data bazaar? Before I got a chance to actually make anything though, my partner sent me this. She was like, you're doing data stuff now and like this, and there's been an election and we're all kind of freaked out. And so I went to this event in Toronto 2 years ago. And it was where I was introduced to this organization called the Environmental Data and Governance Initiative. And that's where we sort of saw the beginning of what would be later called data rescue. We held a data rescue here in New York. I got heavily involved with data rescues. It drove thousands of people out to try and archive government resources. We were trying to work to build a grassroots archive of a federal data source, which was an ambitious undertaking, particularly with no planning, run entirely by volunteers. It was a very hectic time. It was, to say the least, a life-changing experience. It's kind of this weird duplicity. In one way, I really experienced it as these photos of just like, hey, and very much events like this. But there's also a lot of press coverage, which made it seem very serious and like we were doing really serious stuff. And so there's a really fun sort of duplicity to the project. But for my dots and lines diagram, and I need one of these, this is kind of what the archiving process looked like for us. In the middle is sort of EPA.gov. It's a website backed by a server connected to a database. And then us as a grassroots archiving project are all trying to individually pull stuff down, right? We're just get it backed up. And we're sort of, all of these efforts we're probably coordinating, but if you take away the sort of actual process of transmission, you see that we're actually just making more data silos as we're doing this. This archival process is sort of we're actually fighting the structure of the internet. which is a really scary phrase. Structure of the internet is a big concept, but while we were working on it, this just became a huge problem. And so as sort of data rescue started to slow down in terms of the events, it's still happening, but in terms of the events we were running, we sort of returned back to Query, which is the project that we've been working on before. And we decided we were going to try and take a crack at this problem the real way. Go all the way down to the bottom of the tubes and like start there and see if we could figure out a way to do better collective archiving. So Query, sort of in a nutshell, is three things. It helps to explain it through what already exists. It's a version control tool, a database, and a peer-to-peer network all at the same time. Which, if any of this is confusing, don't worry. You don't have to think about Query this way. You don't have to worry about knowing how Git works or knowing what Postgres does or understanding BitTorrent. Query is only datasets. As a tool, it just is for working with datasets. So as a thing, when you're using Query, all you do is store, version, share, and move datasets around. You don't have to think about versioning or databases or peer-to-peer networks. And that's kind of the theory. The actual dataset model itself was really the product of a lot of hard work, mainly researching standards and specs that already existed and trying to build on top of those. And this is sort of, after years of research, what we arrived at, which is these sort of dataset. Every dataset is split into components, of which there are 6. Not all datasets have all components, but if they exist, they are all in the same place. And that's a really important aspect of what a dataset is. Every dataset can be compared to any other dataset. So enough talk, let's make one. The process is pretty basic. You take a CSV file, you jam it into Query. Query puts it in a very special place on your hard drive where stuff cannot change. Hands you back a data set. That data set can then be turned into whatever you need to turn it into, including your old CSV file. You can turn it into Excel documents, you can get it into Jupyter Notebooks, you can get it into RStudio, wherever you need it to go. Now, let's make a version. I just said it can't change, but let's make changes. We changed our CSV file. I'm going to give it back to Query. Query is doing horrible things under the hood to your data. It's cutting it up into blocks, and it's putting those blocks in this immutable store, which is important because now, as those two files changed, we're not getting twice the file size, which is very important when you're trying to version large amounts of information. Query can do diffs on structured data. I repeat, Query can do diffs on structured data. If you've ever used the Unix diff tool, Unix diff works on lines. Query can figure out that cells changed. And for us, this is something that we feel is fundamentally missing. And this was based on feedback from people who were like, please build this for us, which has been nice. But yeah, the other thing Query can do is it's a peer-to-peer network. And so because you have that special place on your hard drive, you can flip on the sort of network thing and go talk to anybody else who has the networking turned on at that point. What's important here is this is decentralized. This is a peer-to-peer network. You are not moving through any cloud service when you're talking to other Query peers. And so you have a capacity to sort of exchange directly with whoever's online at that point. And so if we overlay that concept to what was our previous, if we had Query when we started to do data rescue, it would look more like this, where we now actually can integrate with the services. We're not trying to replace the existing internet. We're trying to work with it and complement it with peers that actually understand and know, hey, peer A has archived that data set, and we already have a hash of that. Peer B has archived that. Oh, sorry, I just said hashes. I said I wouldn't say hashes. But yeah, anyways, it's a very fun new thing. I really would love it if you come check it out. It's an open source. I think these slides are out of order. This is like the end, and I think I've only talked for like, well, let's make changes together. I mean, that's what that says. Cool, yeah. But okay, yeah, just to round out. Oh yeah, thanks. That was odd. Whatever.
All right. And look, it's 6:25. Matt, do we got anybody else? Nobody else? Okay. You made it to the end of the 4th NYC School of Data. Congratulations. All right, I'm gonna pull a page from the Personal Democracy Forum playbook, which is to give you a sneak peek. Next year's School of Data is going to be on March 7th, which is, if you were around this morning, is going to be the 8th anniversary of the city's open data law. So because, otherwise it would have to be on February 28th. And we don't like putting a day in front of us when we have another special day when we can take an opportunity for. So save March 7th, 2020. on your calendar. Put it on your calendar, tweet it out now, so that way we're committed to it. Yeah, hold us accountable. And then we're going to go find an amazing venue. Obviously, this is our first year where we were able to stretch a little bit from our previous locations. So next year might be a little bit larger. It might be around the size. We're definitely going to have rooms that are going to be larger. So that way everybody can sit down, or at least restrict entry. I don't know, which one. Which one should we do? Should we make it larger, or should we hold smaller attendance? Larger? More data? Okay, all right, great. All right, thanks. All right, well, it's time to close out. I want to say thanks to all of our sponsors. Thanks to all of our volunteers. Thanks to our co-organizers. You have a full week of events to go to. I can actually open this up now, Chrome. For those of you who haven't, okay. That's what I was kind of delaying for. Thanks, Kate. Actually, this is Kate. Kate, stand up. Stand up. I called her out earlier. This is Kate. She became an aunt yesterday. And then she birthed her first School of Data over the last 5 weeks. We can really thank her for sitting there and spending many hours trying to figure out a spreadsheet that it got us fed all day long. So thanks for doing such an amazing job and putting this together. Let's give everyone a round of applause for Kate for the hard work.
Ms. Ishrat, are you in the room, or are you still working?
Ishrat, where are you?
Ishrat is one of our Civic Innovation Fellows, and she has been helping coordinate all of our volunteer teams. So big thanks to every shift that has worked and tirelessly throughout the day. Yay!
Yeah!
Yay. And then lastly, let's just give it up for this gentleman right
All right, so the last two closing announcements are, one, thanks for kicking off Open Data Week 2019. You have a full week of events to go to. We heard from John this morning that there's a Machine Eatable at Civic Hall on Wednesday. Is anybody else hosting Open Data Week events that you want to give a plug right now? Dun, 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 dun. No? Going once? Come here. Back in the old days when we did hack nights, we would do these community call-outs, so here's another one.
Thanks. NYC Planning Labs is having our first quarterly Labby Hour. Get it? Tuesday afternoon in the Financial District. Find it online. Just go to our website, planninglabs.nyc, or yell at us on Twitter. We'd love to see you there.
It's not on the website?
Nope.
I can change that. How many people can show up, Chris? Chris? How many people can show up? Oh, okay. Then I won't put it on the website. Okay, great. I won't put it on the website then. Wait till I get it. So there's our friends at MODA and a number of other agencies and throughout the whole community have really planned an extensive week of events. So please check it out, open-data.nyc. Huge shout out to Devin Balkin. Where's Devin? For taking this code base and hacking it. Thanks, Devin. Thanks, Team MODA, for helping be great partners for School of Data. And with that, we will see you either in 6 months for a proper citywide hackathon for National Day of Civic Hacking, or we'll see you 12 months from now at School of Data 2020. Wait. Exactly. And if you are missing something, it is where? In Strawberry Fields. And Strawberry Fields happens to be down this hallway and to the left. There's no more signs, right? So if you're missing something, down this long hallway to the left, Strawberry Fields. See you next year.